to talk about this session we're going to start in a few minutes. The topic of today's session is Indispensable Project Manager. And I'm Ajay Singh, Managing Director of the Successful Projects India. And with me, I also have Kay Weiss, the owner of Successful Project USA. And I have Frank Saladis, who is the presenter of today's session. And I would like to also give a thanks to PMI Mumbai, PMI Bangalore, PMI Karachi for a big support in hosting this webinar today. And various other people also had helped me organize this event. So with that, I would like to give a brief introduction of Frank Saladis. Frank is a founder of International Project Management Day. This day is the day when he started this day because of recognizing project managers all over the world. And he received the PMI Person of the Year award in 2006. Frank was a co-chair PMI Council of Chapter Presidents, and he had been president of PMI New York City chapter also for 10 years. He was also a chairman of the PMI Education Special Interest Group. He has spoken at PMI seminars, symposium, and World Congress since 1993 every year. Featured speaker at the Project Management Institute annual symposium, Project World and Frontiers in Project Management. He has written many books, and 5 books, famous books are on Project Management Workbook and PMP Exam Study Guide. He has written a book on value-driven project management and written a book on what functional managers need to know about project management, what executives need to know about project management, and bringing the PMBOK guide to life. So it's very honored to welcome Frank on this webinar. Please welcome Frank Saladis.
Okay, Jay, thank you very much, and thank you all for joining. It's late in the evening here. I'm actually in Minneapolis in the USA, in Minnesota, and Jay thought it would be a good idea to try to do something for International Project Management Day for the project managers that are managing projects in various places in India. I had the opportunity to be in India just a few months ago, back in August, with Ajay, and we presented several sessions, several programs on leadership for managers and also creativity and innovation, and we had a very nice time when we were there. So looking forward to going back, and hopefully this webinar will kind of be like a primer of other things that we can offer to the audiences in India. So the session this evening and for you this morning is entitled The Indispensable Project Manager, and it's kind of a fitting time to do this on International Project Management Day, which is the 7th of November 2013. And just as a reminder that International Project Management Day is an every year event on the first Thursday of November. And just very briefly about what International Project Management Day is about, it is a day of recognition and acknowledgement of project managers. If you're a PMI member, you might be familiar with PMI's goal, which is to make project management indispensable to business. And my take on that goes a little bit further than that. I think that project management is already being used in most businesses, even non-for-profits. But my focus more is to make sure that people appreciate the project manager, and that's what International Project Management Day is about. And this session will focus on some of the techniques that would help us to show our organizations that you really can't do many of the things that need to be done for an organization to be successful without having a project manager. So the premise is the indispensable project manager, and I will elaborate on that idea. Okay, so as we move forward, okay, Jay had a few slides up front here, and he'll talk a little bit about this at the end of the session too, but we've been to India back in August. We are looking at setting up forums on leadership and a number of related topics. So if you're interested in that, make sure that you do contact Jay Singh at successfulprojectsindia@gmail.com. So it's a great opportunity, and we can bring a lot of very, very interesting and different programs to your organizations. This is just a very little bit of background. I only wanted to highlight one thing that I'm very happy to announce, very proud and honored that at the PMI World Congress in North America, which concluded just last week in New Orleans, I was awarded the PMI Fellow, which is a very, very distinguished award, and I'm very happy and proud to have received that. So I thought I would share that with you. I'm still glowing in after the award, just thinking about receiving it and what a wonderful thing that is. So anyway, that's a little bit about my background, and I'm going to get right into the program, the Indispensable Project Manager. Now, while we're doing the presentation, if you have any questions, you can use the chat function, send in your questions, send in your comments, and during the presentation at some points in time, I will ask one of our moderators to help me out by looking at some of those questions and give me an opportunity to respond to some of your observations, some of your questions, and some of your comments. So to start the presentation, it is important for us to kind of set a foundation here. And the foundation here is basically this quote from Seth Godin, who has written several books on management, on creativity, on running businesses successfully, and leadership. And it says every successful organization has at least one linchpin. Some have dozens or even thousands. The linchpin is the essential element, the person who holds part of the organization together. Without the linchpin, the thing falls apart. And I thought that that was kind of a great way to introduce the idea of the indispensable project manager, because I firmly believe that it is project managers who actually hold organizations together, that are doing the things that need to be done to organize, to integrate, to coordinate, and to produce the services and the deliverables and the products that are essential for an organization to survive. And we want to know more about what project managers do and really show people just how important it is to have project managers that are well qualified to do the work. Now part of the process is attitude. It's your personal attitude. And I kind of like this quote. I was going to buy a copy of The Power of Positive Thinking, and then I thought, well, what the hell good would that do? And it is kind of an idea that, if we are not thinking positive, if we don't have that positive attitude, it would be very, very difficult for people to see you as someone that would be indispensable. So what we want to do is start off with the right attitude to make sure that we have a can-do approach, and that the idea behind the indispensable project manager is really about not that that you're not replaceable or that you're irreplaceable. It's really about making yourself a go-to person, someone who has accumulated knowledge, someone who has experience, someone who can solve problems and can actually make major contributions to the success of an organization. And that's what I mean by indispensable. So I want to set the stage and focus on yourself. Brand you. If someone asks you, what would be one word that describes you, what would that one word be? Now, I'm actually interested in seeing some responses. If you can only use one word to describe you, what would that word be? So let me see what kind of responses. So put some input into the chat so we can take a look at that and think about what would that one word be. If you had to describe yourself to any person but can only use one word, what would you say? Would you say outstanding, excellent, Would you say passionate? Would you say curious? Would you say creative? You know, give me some of those words, because it's very important for us to set the stage of what project managers are thinking about themselves when people ask those questions. So I'm inviting you to share some thought about what that means to be a, to really share that one word. How does it describe you? So I'm looking for some words. Don't be shy. And while I'm looking for those words, and I'll continue on with the presentation. Another thing that you want to do, if you think about brand, is there are things that you have in your possession, things that you've purchased, things in your place of business that you value. So now you have to ask the question, what is it that you value? Okay? As a simple thing, value might be time. You value your time. You value other people's time. Possibly you value camaraderie and teamwork. You know, what are the things that you value in your organization? Those are important because that is actually a part of your own personal brand. It sends a message out to people about who you are and what you stand for. So think about the things that you truly value. And a person said being trustworthy. Trustworthy is great. I see analytical. Okay, I see analytical, trustworthy. Okay, what other words would describe you and what's important to you? So committed. Okay, committed is great. A team player. Now, the important thing about this is why I asked for that one word, is that we would get a collection of words, and people would have multiple different words here. But if you think about it, being trustworthy, being committed, being loyal, being analytical, these are all actual qualities of a project manager. So think about that. What you want to do is you want to make sure that people see these kinds of values in you. So I may have asked for only one word that describes you, but all the other words that would be used, curious, team player, like we just said, being committed, passionate, all those words actually describe those elements that we want in all of our project managers. So it's important for us to do that. Now, here's another thing I would like you to share, and that is what you believe are the characteristics of the successful project manager. And if you think about that, some of the words that you use, the trustworthy, the team player, consistent, committed, trustworthy, analytical, these are some of the characteristics of the effective project manager. What else might there be? If you think about the successful project manager, they're driven. Okay, they have a high sense of personal esteem, that they're professional, that they're reliable, that they're going to get things done, that they're organized, that they're good planners. These are the characteristics of a successful project manager. And you have to ask yourself, am I those things? And that's very important for setting the stage to being considered what I refer to as being indispensable. Now, some of you have written some words in here, motivator and things like that. The key competencies of a project manager, as provided to me by more than 700 project managers in a survey that I had done, listed communication skills as number one, leadership skills, then organizing skills, interpersonal skills, negotiating skills. Now, you see that I have actually 7 items listed here. I asked for the top 5, but I did get 7. And 6 was team building skills, and then number 7 is technical skills. So we want to think about that for a minute. Project managers are telling us that what's more important in terms of getting things done and being successful is the softer skills, the communication and the leadership and things like conflict management, problem solving. And the technical skills came in at number 7. And the reason for that is that most project managers, although they may have some technical knowledge, that's not their function. Their function is to be the coordinator, the integrator, the person who pulls all the piece parts together. And if you're doing all those things, it's very difficult for you to be the technical manager and getting down into the nuts and bolts of a project. So technical skills is important. I think that project managers do have to possess some, but I refer to the term that project managers should be technically credible, not technically competent, but technically credible. In other words, they should understand some of the technology, how the technology works, and be able to speak intelligently to their functional team members. But it's really the functional team members that are the technical experts and not the project manager. One thing I also would like to point out is that the truly effective and successful project manager is always displaying a high degree of professionalism in both planning and execution. We do have to plan, and today's trends in project management tell us that although planning is very important, we want to make sure we have a good plan, that the focus today, especially amongst most organizations, is in having what we'll call excellent execution. So let's plan things out, let's do the appropriate level of planning, and then let's get into execution. And the reason for that is because I use a quote, I always use this quote in a lot of programs that I do, from Napoleon, who said that the first casualty in any battle is the plan. And therefore, planning is a good thing to a certain point, but then you have to move forward because we can expect change. So the continuous planning, what we refer to as progressive elaboration of a project, is really the key. And this will help us improve the way we execute by the continuous planning. Okay, now, another thing we want to do is think about how project managers are perceived by other managers, peers, and associates. And the reason I'm bringing this up is that because in some cases, project managers are kind of given a reputation that might be a little bit negative in terms of, some project managers spend a lot of time, digging into the details where they shouldn't be, going after the completions of tasks, walking around with checklists, maybe even quoting from the PMBOK, and not necessarily projecting the image of the true leader. So what I'm interested in here is your opinion on how people perceive project managers. It's very important. We want to make sure that we are perceived as leaders, as people who are effective at influencing people, that we're very good at establishing relationships. But there are some perceived negatives out there, so I'm actually interested in a couple of your comments about that. What do you think about the perception of project managers? Okay, so anyway, think about that, and provide some feedback for me, because I'm really interested in seeing what you're saying about the project manager and also how people perceive the project manager. Okay, so I see that we don't have any comments yet on that, but think about that. What we want to do. Okay, so someone says as change agents. Okay, which is something that we want to do. That's not really a perceived negative. I think that project managers should absolutely be perceived as change agents. What I want to do is think about some of the things that some field project managers just give orders and do nothing. Overhead on the project. See, this is what I'm looking for. Only focused on processes and is not hands-on. Now, these are the negatives, and we have to find ways to turn that around. And that's where your opportunities are. As a project manager, you are put in a leadership position that you should be capable of influencing, negotiating, working with people to coordinate and integrate deliverables, and try to get rid of that perceived negative about the project manager simply looking at schedules and whether or not people have their tasks completed. Okay, we want to make sure that we see that people see the project manager as an integrator. Now, the question that comes up here you might be thinking about would be, what does make a person indispensable? And I see we have a few more comments coming in, so I'm just going to take a quick look at these comments. Okay, without actual beneficial impact of the processes in the project. See, these are the kinds of things that I want to just basically try to remove that perception by giving you some key ideas and pointers that will help you to show the organization, especially people who are going to be impacted by the project, that you are actually providing valuable services and making major contributions to the organization. So the question then becomes, are you indispensable? The factors for being indispensable are some interesting words here. Accomplishability, your ability to achieve and deliver valued results. You have to ask yourself that question. Are you doing that? And you're doing that consistently. Okay? Considering value and cost, the value delivered perception relative to cost. In other words, if we're paying for this, are we getting the value that would justify the cost for doing it. Supply and demand, the market the dynamics of your position, the skills and things like that. Okay, are you a person who has certain skills that are always in demand? These are very important things to consider. And although some people might push back on this, likability, how others perceive you. Now, I know that some people, when we talk about leadership, basically say that, you don't have to be liked to be a leader. So I'm going to suggest that that is true. However, I think that it makes your job easier and it makes your relationships more effective if you treated people with respect, that you listen to the concerns of other people, and that you established at least a very professional relationship and a respectful relationship with people, which would, I think, equate to a likability factor. So it's very important for you to consider these factors in your plans to become what I refer to as being indispensable. And I will get into a little bit more detail about that. But it says here in the slide, okay, if you don't focus on becoming indispensable, your value will be limited and your worth in society decreases every day. You become less relevant. Now, I think you might be concerned a little bit about that word indispensable. And I am not here to try to tell you that you are irreplaceable, because the fact is that no one is really truly irreplaceable. What we want to do is establish the fact that you make a difference in your organization, that you are doing things that are necessary, and that your organization requires the skills that you have. That's why it's so important to kind of focus on your continuous growth, your continuous advancement, learning new skills, and basically improving what you do pretty much on a regular basis. And like I said, I'll spend more time talking about this idea behind being indispensable. Now, you might recognize this. This is pretty much from a Stephen Covey book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And it's about your ability to manage time. And this is extremely important. What you'll see here is we have a grid that shows that we have certain things that are high importance and in low importance, and certain things that are low in urgency and high in urgency. Now, according to Covey and other people, many people are in the low importance, low urgency area, meaning we're doing unimportant things that are not really urgent. And we want to ask ourselves, well, how much time do we spend there? Now, if you're doing a lot of easy stuff, you're doing a lot of things that are trivial kind of things, but they're pleasant, what you are is you're staying in your comfort zone. And it might appear that you're busy because these things are, you can actually do a lot of these, but you're not actually contributing much to an organization. You're going through motions, you look like you're busy, but the work that you do doesn't really produce much. And a lot of people happen to be in that particular quadrant. Now, the next quadrant that people apparently are in would be in the doing unimportant things that someone has made urgent. Interruptions, meetings, and what I call fire drills, where you have to stop doing something that might be productive to do something that someone perceives as being urgent. However, if they really think about it, it's really not that important to do. So we spend way too much time in the lower two quadrants doing easy things or doing things that are not really that important but someone has made urgent for us. So our goal is really to get into the upper quadrants, meaning do important things that may not be urgent. It takes a little bit of time. For instance, prevention work, maintenance work, building relationships, strategic planning falls in that category. Recreation, those are important. They may not be urgent on the bigger scheme of things, but these are things that you would definitely want to plan into your daily routine and your work at home, your work and at home. And then you have the things that are very important and also urgent. A crisis develops. There are pressing problems to solve. There are deadline-driven projects. There are some meetings that you must attend that are important and urgent. So what we want to do here, and part of your mindset going forward, would be for you to actually look at the work that you do and try to measure, how much trivial stuff and easy stuff are you doing and things that are just very comfortable, and how many interruptions do you allow to occur, and maybe spend some time to think about how I'm going to move from those quadrants to the upper quadrants and focus on doing things that are truly important to do, and we can manage our time much better, doing things that are truly urgent when they're supposed to be done, and less urgent, but also important, and plan those out. So those are really important things to consider. So let's focus on that high-level quadrant over there on the right-hand side, important things, and work our way back to the less urgent but also very important things. Now, the secret to becoming indispensable. First of all, I mentioned this before, it's a positive attitude. It says a positive attitude and an awareness of how to build brand you are as crucial as your team-making skills. You have to continue to focus on brand you, how people perceive you. And I make a recommendation that people should perceive you as always doing excellent work. I know that that's a hard thing to do, but your goal would be not to stay just good enough, but to continue to move forward and get a reputation for having excellent meetings and for excellent quality of work, okay, and being committed and driven and very, very reliable and things like that. Those are the kinds of things that you want to have people think of you as, okay. Some possibilities would be, now I want you to think about these, okay. How can I become indispensable? Instill doubt that you can be replaced, okay. Create a sense of risk that your departure would have on customer relations or profit, exploiting gaps in the system, and be the only one who fully understands the process. Now, before I go any further, many of you might be thinking about that. Is that really a good idea? Okay, and I'd like to get some feedback on you on that. What do you think about that? Should you really instill doubt that you can be replaced? That you create a real sense of risk that your departure would create some real problems? You think that that's a good strategy? Okay, I'm hoping that you think that it isn't, because it really truly is not a good strategy. These things here actually could be very detrimental to you. So we want to be very careful that these actions may actually limit your ability to grow. How is that? Well, because you could become stuck in a position simply because you have proven to people that you cannot be moved, that it would be detrimental to the organization to move you, and you will actually create a situation where walls are being built around you and you're not going to have that flexibility. So this isn't really the way to go. There are other tactics that I think are more appropriate than to simply show people that you really have built up being indispensable. So one of the things that you want to do is to inventory things like your value traits. What is it that people are doing? Well, actually, look at yourself through the eyes of other people, and how do they perceive you as being valuable? Okay, your value traits. Do you value being on time? Do you value other people's opinions? Do you value contributing to the teamwork of the organization? Are you someone who is extremely punctual? Are you someone who is there to help if someone needs help? You know, what are your value traits? And you want to inventory those, because it's going to be part of your strength. What makes you different than other people, that people would seek you out? Keep in mind that when I talk about being indispensable, it's not that you're totally replaceable, but you become a go-to person. And how is it that you're a go-to person? What are the things that you do that would cause people to seek you out for your knowledge and your expertise? What are the key skills, knowledge, or other factors that you bring to your organization? You do things, okay? Think about the value that you bring. Ask the question, how am I contributing to the organization? Okay, and it's not about, you know, raising your flag and you know, what they call blowing your horn. It's making sure that you understand how you fit in and why you are important and considered to be a valuable contributor to the organization. And then you should ask yourself, well, there are a few things that I could probably do better, and then what are those skills that you should pursue? So you actually have to have this ongoing action plan for your you know, continuous personal development. Okay. The question that you really want to keep asking yourself is, how do you know that you're valuable? What are those unique skills? What is it that you're doing? In fact, a good way to answer this question is to think, is the company that you belong to, the organization, are they better off now that you are there than maybe before? Or have you done something recently that has really, truly contributed to the organization? What was it, and how did the organization benefit? And then how did you benefit? And how did the people of the organization benefit? That's how you start to know how you're valuable. Okay, so it really boils down to the management of value, what you are doing to actually contribute value to your organization and to your own personal brand. So what we want to do is we bring a gift to people. Okay, work creates value and a gift, and I will talk a little bit more about this gift a little bit later on. But what you want to do is that you need to be appreciated, and I'll share you a thought with you that kind of drove me to this. I was thinking about it for many years. Finally, decided to put this presentation together. But many years ago, I was at a conference, and the speaker at the conference, as he was concluding his presentation, asked the question, when you leave this earth, will you leave a vacancy or a void? And I want you to think about that. Anybody can fill a vacancy, but a void is something that will take some time because you have left an impression. So my goal here is to get you to start thinking about making sure that you leave an impression, that you're doing some things that people will say, wow, this was great. You know, we really appreciated the fact that he or she was here. That's what this is really all about. It's making that impression. Okay. Now, what we want to do here as we move forward is that sometimes our own, what we call voice of judgment, the little voice that we hear in the back of our minds telling us how we can't do things or we shouldn't do things, or don't take this risk, or that's really not for you. We want to quiet that voice of judgment, and because that actually keeps us from going into the bigger areas and basically keeps us playing small. So we have to kind of overcome that voice that tells us that we're not competent enough, and start to focus on how we're going to be more competent. So therefore, we need to have that positive attitude. Okay, we have to think in terms of being indispensable. We have to think in terms of, you know, they really they need me for this, and I can show you how valuable I can be, so I can contribute. That's what you want to do. Start thinking about how you can make yourself visibly valuable. Now, think indispensable. Okay, these are great words that you can help to determine, you know, if you can fit into that indispensable category. Is it what you do? Is it critical to your organization's survival or critical to the project that you're working on? Are you a vital component of something? Are you central to the completion of a deliverable? Is it essential that people engage you? Are you necessary? Are you required? I mean, think about these words. And basically, we can actually use those words to help us understand how we fit in. You know, we are a fundamental part of the organization, or what I really like is we're a keeper. And you have to ask yourself, you know, well, how is it that I'm a keeper? And if not, then you want to get to be a keeper. It's a good idea, okay? Especially with the continuous changes in the economy and technology and things like that. So focus on being the indispensable you. What is it that you do? What was that one thing that people associate with you in service to your organization's mission? Is there something that you're a specialist at, that you can actually, that people appreciate that you know this, that you bring this particular talent to the organization? Whatever it is, make it a habit. Do it all the time. People will look at you and say, boy, he's really excellent at that. She does that so well. And, you know, that's a sign of appreciation and a sign of being that go-to person, someone that will actually, you know, see and recognize the work that you do. Okay? It basically associates itself with something called a spirit of generosity, where you are someone who has a skill, but you are also going to be able to provide other people or instruct other people or mentor other people to learn that skill, so that there will be more of that. This becomes part of that indispensable you, where you are actually providing value to other people by sharing your knowledge. So think about brand you. This is very important. Never underestimate the importance of the way you look. And I'm not saying that you have to wear a jacket and tie and a suit and, you know, these things to work every day, but you should always have what I would call a professional appearance. That you should smile a lot, you should be upbeat, should be supportive of what's going on in the organization, supportive of your team members, and positive. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to get involved in disagreements and conflict, but you know what? The way you handle it, your attitude, should always be upbeat. You know, we'll find a way to solve this, okay? We don't necessarily have to really argue about it. I disagree with you, but hey, that's the nature of business. Disagreements help us find better solutions. Create a CV as a resume and update it with the things that make you valuable, and continuously do that. You should always be updating your resume. Ask questions from other people and learn about it. One of the things that I think is important is the project manager should become what is known as a business savvy project manager. So find out more about financial management. Find out what operations people do and what the HR people do, and you know, headquarters people and any of those functional departments. Make sure that you are constantly asking questions and build your network. Another thing that's important is to sustain an active social media presence, using LinkedIn, using Twitter, Facebook, and things like that. Where and not to post you know, the silly side that you sometimes see, but ask questions, respond to people's questions, offer some expertise in a certain area, and become appreciated. Those are the things that I think are important in establishing the brand you, which would help to give you that reputation of being the go-to person and someone that's important. Create value and bring a gift to others. Now, the gift that we're talking about is really your expertise, the things that you know, the things that actually make you unique. You should be willing to teach other people those things. And in so doing, you are actually performing what is known as authentic leadership. You are creating value in an organization by giving people new skills. So you want to become that artist, that creative, innovative person that we would call a positive deviant, that linchpin, the person that really brings new ideas and holds the organization together as a very cohesive unit. Try not to just be limited and succumb to business as usual. I think that the brand you, all of us, should think of business as unusual, okay? What can we do differently and better? How do we make a contribution that will not only help our customers and our clients, but our peers and the organization in general? Make sure that you have that professional image online, which means how you send messages, how you speak to people on virtual conferences. That professionalism should be with you all the time. And this one is important. You know, I think it's important, and you know, all of us, I think, have learned this. Never allow anyone to take inappropriate pictures of you online. That can actually be a detriment. So we have to basically use some judgment. The gift that we're talking about is what you contribute each day. Smile. People will see that you're approachable if you're someone that smiles a lot, that you offer a thoughtful gesture like a nod or a thank you for something that someone did, or just you know, a very simple, you know, pleasant greeting. Maybe you take a kind action to someone that needs some help. These are the kinds of things that people really, truly appreciate. Do some teaching and or mentoring. And it doesn't mean formally teaching, but you know, if you have a moment, show somebody how they can do something better if you know how to do it better. Forget the WIIFM, which is what's in it for me, just for a little while, and basically think of what's in it for you, and that meaning the other person. Okay, and treat those people with respect, and you will see that you become that go-to person, that people will kind of migrate to you because you're setting that kind of an example. Basically, it says here, find something that differentiates you from others, something people will remember. And these are the kinds of things we're talking about, the teaching, the thoughtful gesture, the smile, and helping the organization to move forward. Now, this is something that I had put together. It's called the Project Manager Value Attitudes. Okay, if we just run down these particular value attitudes. Have principles, and you abide by those principles. That you're the financial person, okay, which is you're going to manage costs. You understand the importance of financial value, and this is really okay. Just checking to see if can still hear me, so either a J or a K, could you just verify that I'm still online?
Frank, we can hear you a little bit. It appears that your audio is
Okay, there is some background noise.
It
okay,
has
I
returned.
did go back online. There was some audio, some interference.
Yep, I think we're good now.
Okay, good. Yeah, there was some interference. Okay.
Yeah, it's good. Yep.
So let me continue. The financial, we're managing costs. We're looking at the financial value associated with the organization, especially on projects. The aesthetic part of value is in the quality that you offer. You know, that when you offer something to a person, that it is of high quality, it's very reliable, it's useful, it does what it's supposed to do, and we're producing customer satisfaction. Then there's the social part of value, which is the team building, relationship building, you know, able to communicate and deal with people. The political, influencing people to work on the things that need to be done and prioritizing and also managing conflict. And then, of course, there's the leader, setting the example, creating confidence, motivating, and building loyalty. These are what I call the project manager value attitudes. And it's something I think that we should all really pay attention to as we develop our careers. So think about those value attitudes and where do you need to do some additional work. But this would show you the kinds of things that will help us to become what I call indispensable in an organization. Now, let's just talk about the difference between being indispensable and being irreplaceable. Indispensable, we make an impact, okay? We have a mindset wrapped with skills and attributes. In other words, I am going to make a difference by using these skills and these things that I do well to make a difference. Indispensable people are the types that you can hand any project, put in nearly any role, issue, or challenge, and they simply will make things happen. You have to ask yourself, can I do that? And if not, you need to work on that because in today's environment, management does expect people to produce results fairly quickly under so many very, very local adverse conditions. Okay? By understanding what needs to get done and then adapting their skills accordingly. Think about that, adapting your skills accordingly. That is critical, which means that we have to maintain this learning mode. Okay? Now, irreplaceable, you're locked in a role. You have created something where people don't want to move you. It's actually damaging to you because they're going to hold up your promotions and things like that. You have a finite set of skills and mindset, and you know what? You can't move from there because that's all I do. If you fail to share information with other people, okay, if you somehow create this false sense that if you protect your area, you will have job security for life. These are things that are not going to work. If you can't be replaced, you can't be promoted. You can't grow your company or your profile. So this is what the difference between indispensable and irreplaceable is. We're not suggesting that you become irreplaceable. It will actually create problems for you. You need to be the go-to person, someone who provides things that are useful, that people will come back to you over and over again for and see that they can move you to different positions, including promotions, because you will continue to add value. So some suggestions here would be do more than your job description. Go beyond that. Find other things that you can do to be helpful in your organization, to add value. Don't sit and wait for someone to thank you. Continue to do things. The thanks will come later. Be someone who anticipates what's going on and takes action and doesn't wait until we have to react to things. Make yourself essential by learning new things, talking to people, networking, gaining new skills so that you become, as I said many times before, that go-to person. Display the optimism that leaders would show. We're not complainers. We're not whiners. We're people who get things done. You want to make sure that you're connected. Now, it says here, befriend your boss and associates, but I do have befriend in quotation marks. And that means establish a respectful relationship with your boss, your associates. We don't have to be best pals with everyone, but we should establish a friendly, approachable arrangement so that people feel comfortable when they're working with us and that we're approachable when people need help. That's how you become a go-to person. That it's really about serving other people, not trying to protect yourself by not sharing information, but by making a difference by sharing the information that you know and helping other people to grow. And also by taking the time to consider any areas that might be weak and then taking the time to address that. The great employee ignores boundaries of the job description, goes beyond that, stretches, learns new things. Sometimes the great employee is looked upon as an eccentric because they're doing so many things that help other people and they seem happy about it. Okay, and that, that to me, that's a good thing. Expresses individuality but can become part of a seamless team. In other words, you are a creative person, you have ideas that you want to move the organization forward, you have some vision, but at the same time, it's very important to work together in synergy. That you take the time to say thank you and publicly praise other people. If you're going to complain, we're not going to make a spectacle about it. We will complain to the right people at the right time and have the right facts. Okay? That you will speak up when others are just simply going to avoid something. We make a difference by bringing up things that in some cases are controversial or even adversarial, but we want to do it in a tasteful and professional way. And we prove doubters wrong with facts. Okay? We make sure that we know what we're talking about and we have this positive attitude. If we can do this, and here's how. And on the bottom where it says always fiddling, that means you're always busy doing something. You're experimenting. You're going to the next step, and so on. Those are the things that we want to take to really consider. So I like this quote. It says, build your team to sail the ship without you. Teach them everything you know and hire people smarter than you. Equip yourself to always bring something powerful, unique, and pivotal to your work, but make it a methodology, not a checklist that's unique to anyone in discipline. So what we're saying here is that the indispensable person is going to be looked upon as a true leader. You're adding value. I mentioned this before. Authentic leadership. You do not have to have followers here as long as you are providing something that will be perceived as valuable to the organization. Okay, the indispensable project manager are the adapt to things. They're highly adaptable. We thrive at whatever is thrown at us so that we can get things done. We accept challenges, okay? And the skills and techniques that we know are ever evolving. We're learning new things all the time. And basically it says here, which means that few businesses can thrive for long without them. That means that these are people who really, truly make the difference, and we want to have them around. And we're going to take good care of them because they provide us with such value. Okay, not that they're irreplaceable. It's just that they are doing the right kinds of things that make an organization move forward in a very sustainable way. So the final thoughts here is that no one is actually truly indispensable. What our goal here is to become a go-to person, a person of knowledge, expertise. People need you to help get things done, that you can mentor people, that you can coach people.
Frank? We can't hear you, Frank. Hey.
Hello, Ajay.
Yeah.
This is Kay. I'm going to
Frank.
suggest that we jump over to your slides and go through the PDU information. And then if
Okay.
Frank is able to rejoin us, possibly via the phone number, then we can have him return to his final few slides. But we are nearing the end, and we want to make sure that our participants are able to collect on their PDUs, and very likely Frank will be able to rejoin us. So
Yes. Okay.
can you jump us to your
Yeah.
screen and the slide?
Right. Yep. let me do that. Yep. Organizer.
So thank you everybody for bearing with us, and we'll have the PDU collection information available for you here in just a moment. As we're pulling that up, I want to remind everybody that today is the celebrated International Project Management Day. And as Frank speaks so much about the day, he always reminds everybody that this is a day of acknowledgement and appreciation for project managers and the project teams that get all of the things done. And for
anybody, I'm on the line.
Oh, glad that we can have you back, Frank.
I dialed in as a backup, so we have a backup plan. So let me make my final comments, and then we'll go to some questions, and I can ask Jay or Kay to relay questions for me. But as I was saying before, no one is actually totally indispensable. The real goal is to become a go-to person, someone that will provide value in the organization by teaching, becoming a mentor, by doing things that will help an organization to move forward in a very consistent and sustainable way. And it says project managers should be sought after for their wide range of skills and experience. So those are important things. Hopefully the slides are shifting. If not, the slides that should be up there should say the indispensable project manager. Network as much as possible. Be excellent at something. Find something that you're truly great at and become even greater at it. Create something useful, something that people will appreciate, a template, a new way of doing something, a new methodology. Innovate. Look for different ways to solve problems. Make other people feel good. Okay, that's what we do. That's being indispensable. Is really making people feel pretty good that they're there. Share, teach, mentor, and commit to make a difference. Those are the kinds of things that are associated with the indispensable project manager. And the last piece here is the project manager. If we think of the word project means professionalism at all times, respect for all stakeholders, ownership of each assignment, judicial decision maker, excellence in execution, a communicator and a team player, and a team builder. And the project manager, the motivator side, actually the manager side, is to be a motivator, action-oriented, a negotiator, always available, having genuine commitment, energetic and empowering, and responsible for success. And if you put that together, that spells project manager, and that's what this is all about. So hopefully you enjoyed the conference here, the webinar. Sorry for the interruption, but if anybody has any questions, now is the time to pass on some questions, and I will ask Jay or Kay to relay any questions to me as we close out.
There are no additional questions posted at this time, Frank. Looks like we have one that just came in, however. The question is, the habit of doing more than our job descriptions can be easily copied by anyone to do the more work than the given scope. This may be called gold plating. Do you want to comment on that, Frank?
Well, okay. If anyone is planning to get ahead in any organization, you will notice that they will do more than what their job description calls for. And that doesn't mean that you are going to do more work, and that should not be translated into doing more work. But if you are simply going to do only what your job description says and no more, then no one will actually seek you out as being someone that's going to add any additional value. When I say, go beyond your job description, learn more about somebody else's job description. And if you can, take on a little bit more responsibility, okay, so you can test yourself and so that you can grow. Most job descriptions are basically focused on the minimum that a person should be doing. And if you're satisfied with the minimum, then I think that you're going to be stuck in a position that will not allow you to move forward. I don't know of anyone that moves forward in an organization that does not seek additional responsibility and get involved in other things once they have mastered their job. So this is not work scope creep. It's not doing additional work. It is you expanding your capabilities. And then I think that's the way we have to look at it.
One of the other questions just posted is saying that sometimes rigid processes prevent you from innovating. How do you handle that situation?
Okay, repeat that question for me, Kay.
Sometimes rigid processes prevent you from innovating. How do you handle that situation?
Okay, if a process prevents you from innovating, then there's two things wrong here. One is that you're not challenging the process by asking questions about it, and secondly, that the process itself is probably a little bit too stringent, and it should be questioned about what it's doing to add value. Now, I am not the kind of person that would say disregard process. I think we need to follow process. But when processes are causing us to be limited in our thinking, we need to now challenge the process by going back to how it was created, who created it, and asking some questions, but not just simply to criticize the process, but to provide a suggestion about how to improve the process. So if you feel that you're being limited and your innovation is being stifled by process, it's time to go and challenge the process. But if you're going to challenge the process, you have to come up with a better solution. Otherwise, it's pretty much just complaining. So listen, here's an example. If you have a process that you're unhappy with and you feel that it's holding you back, jot down the reasons why it's holding you back, talk to the individuals that are actually in charge of the process, and offer them some suggestions on how you can streamline the process to make it work better so that you are contributing. It's important to always consider contributing and not complaining.
Would you have time for one more question?
Sure.
Okay, I have a few to pick from here. I'm going to pick a shorter one due to the time constraint. So this question is, should a leader be involved in changing the values of the employees whose values do not match the organization's values, or should he let them go?
Okay. First of all, I don't think it's a good idea to actually try to change the values that have been instilled in an individual throughout their entire lifetime. What I think that the leader should be doing is trying to look for those values that match together, the organizational values and the values of an individual. Now, if there is some disparity there, now it's time to question that a little bit more, okay? It's important to communicate why a certain set of values in an organization have been established and why they're in place, and communicate that information to the individual. If an individual feels that their own particular values are not matched in the company, it's important for that individual to talk to people that they have some trust in and some confidence in, that they will be listened to. So most organizations, there will be some differences in the individual's value and also in the leadership's value. But there will always be some common ground, and I think we have to start with that. And then we also have to understand people's positions, and this is where maybe a little bit of EQ, emotional quotient, comes into play, emotional intelligence, understanding, what's important to people and how they operate. And sometimes a paradigm shift in the organization is necessary depending on how people may feel strongly about a certain value. So my suggestion is, if there's a mismatch in value, you might want to bring up some of the concerns to people who are willing to listen. That's a very important thing. And also, the hard reality is sometimes that there is a mismatch, and it's such a mismatch that would create problems for the individual to be there. And this is when you have to start questioning, is this where I want to be, or do I want to go to a place where people, where the organization shares many of my personal values? So it's a complicated situation, It requires a lot of thought. But you know, one of the things that you have to consider is that maybe you're in the wrong place, and that you do have to move to a place that would be more in line with your own value. What we're looking for here, basically, is an organization where the management and the leadership and the people who are doing the work, the employees and the team members, are basically what we call congruence, that we both understand each other's needs, each other's values, and we work together to form something that's very synergistic. And I think that that would be something to think about.
So I think that's, for the sake of time, let's wrap this up. Frank, you okay with that?
Yes, I'm fine. Okay, I hope that the folks that were here enjoyed the session. I'm sorry for the interruption of the audio. Sometimes these things happen depending on the location, but I see that we have quite a few people on here, and we have some nice interaction, so I just want to say thank you for everyone, and also keep International Project Management Day in mind. Every day should be International Project Management Day as far as I'm concerned. It is the official date is the first Thursday of November every year. Put it on your calendar. Find some way to maybe do some small event in your organization. Take the time to say thank you to your project teams, program managers, project managers. That's what this is all about. It's a day of recognition. And with that, let me turn it back to Jay, who has a few words to say about some upcoming programs.
Yeah, thank you very much, Frank. Awesome. It's always an honor to hear you. And as you said, in the India trip, I think everyone was very excited to hear you. And I got a lot of feedback after that. They want to hear you. So today again, thank you again. Awesome. And each and everything you said was very well said. And just wanted to share the information on the PDU information. A lot of people were asking about this. So everyone gets a one PDU. And if you see on the screen, you would have all the information there, PDU category, the title, the name of the company, and the date, and all